Why don't we meet representatives of each of these organisations, have a quick chat. From HalfTech, Dr. Alex Birrell, come on forward. Give Alex a round of applause. So we've seen the video there, the world's smallest and lightest respirator of its kind. Give us the essence of what it is that the HalfTech respirator does.
Yeah, look, we've taken all of the convenience and ease of use of a negative pressure mask. Negative pressure mask, and we've got the protection, the high protection of a powered respirator, and we've done that through the innovation and through the smarts of our engineering, who are all ex-ResMed.
What was the biggest challenge? Bringing down the size, or getting sufficient power, or getting the full protection into a portable device? Of all the different challenges, what was the hardest bit?
Oh, look, we've integrated a lot of the consumer, I guess, and smarts around software. And look, our engineering team would be able to go into a lot more detail here, but in the essence of it is a miniaturisation of some really incredible electronics and some very smart software.
And the range of applications seems impressive. It can be in triage, in an emergency situation. It can be ongoing care. I presume it can be care at home that would normally need to be administered in a hospital or clinical setting. It seems like it's got a wide potential range of applications.
Absolutely. So we've designed the unit to be incredibly portable, and also around mobility, and so portability as well. What we really try and do is it's about protection of healthcare workers, and that's what we're all about, making sure they're at the forefront of any pandemic and any disease. They've got to contain, they've got to manage, and they've got to reduce, and it's about protecting those healthcare workers.
This is the second time you applied to the committee. The first time you came through, I was on the committee and you missed out. You came back a second time and you got through. I want to make it clear it wasn't like the 12 Angry Men. It wasn't me holding out first time round or anything. But no. What is different about you? What is different about you in 2015 to when we first saw you? Why is it ready now?
Yeah, look, I think we've already heard Julian's going to talk about it, and we've heard Mary O'Can as well. It's around the value of the feedback that we got through the process, and that feedback was about deep industry or deep clinical links, and that made the difference for our project. We really turned that project around. We worked for 12 months around getting those clinical partnerships. We've now got a very good relationship with Sanofi in France, which is going to be integral to this project.
$2.2 million, what does that do for you?
That literally gives us a global market. We'll go into market with this product, and we'll be in the US, and we'll also be in Europe, which are some of the key markets for this product.
Give them a round of applause. HalfTech Australia. Great stuff, Alex. Well done. Professor Rod Lane and his son David are here from All Vascular Holdings. Come on up, guys. This was the simple vascular access device that you saw a really fascinating video on. Simple explanation, Professor Lane. What is it that this device does? What's so special about it?
It's special because it allows us to isolate organs and tumours. And if you can isolate something, then you can do all sorts of very nasty things to it if you need to.
Without the risk of doing those nasty things to other healthy parts of the body? Is that the essence of it?
The essence, indeed. And when we measure these things, we know that we can deliver 1,000 times the actual concentration of chemotherapy.
1,000 times?
1,000 times without developing the same side effects as you can develop intravenously. So isolation is important because it allows you to keep the actual chemotherapy there until the tumour takes up the actual chemotherapy. So it's a get it there, keep it there.
There was also a reference in the video to time savings on treatments. These are the sort of things that ministers and clinicians love hearing about. What sort of improvement in time, and where does that come from?
Well, because we don't have the same problems with side effects, therefore we can reduce not only the time but also the total amount, and we can use cheap drugs. So the actual time we are using now is 1 month compared to 6 to 9 months for standard chemotherapy.
Wow. And so where do you fit into all of this, David?
Well, I was dragged in by my father as I came out of school to come and learn the basics of business, and since I've been able to injure him up a little bit and take over the commercialisation of the business. Basically, what we're trying to do now is we've beefed up the executive management team at All Vascular to really help us execute the business plan, and also we're looking to scale up into hospitals in New South Wales and Australia. and then take that model that we learn here and apply it to hospitals in the US and the EU. We can sell these devices now. We have CE mark and TGA. Another big hurdle for us will be getting FDA approval via a 510K application. We hope to do that in the next 6 to 18 months. It'll be something that's really big for us. There's the indication that we're treating at the moment is for colorectal liver metastases. There's 90,000 patients alone in the US with colorectal liver metastases that have limited treatment options. So for us, unlocking that market will be huge. And lastly, with the help from the MDF grant, we're going to be able to carry out our phase 2 study to further justify clinical expansion of the product.
Now, when it started, and you were fresh out of school, Dad would have been absolutely the boss, and you were just the wet behind the ears puppy learning what's going on. Now that it's gone from theoretical to device to now real business plan, what's the balance of power between father and son at All Vascular now? And if I ask both, I see you putting your hand up there, Rod, I like it. If I asked you both, would I get a different answer? That's what I want to know.
All is reversed.
Look, I wouldn't say that. I get paid from time to time, so...
Give them both a round of applause. Fantastic stuff. Professor Rodney Lane and his son David Lane, All Vascular. 1 month down from 9 months. If you can make that happen, if you can get that 1,000 times the concentration of treatment, that is just fascinating. Through Fuse, the University of New South Wales, Professor Bill Walsh. Come on up, Bill. Give him a round of applause. You brought a couple of things with you. Fantastic. I was about to ask you to explain what's going on. I presume these are your props. Talk us through it.
Well, effectively what we've come up with is a way to optimize the fusion environment by understanding the biology and the biomechanics of the spine. And who came from the north side tonight? Anyone come over from the north side? And who came from the south side? Okay, imagine you build a bridge where you only have to grow into the pylons to actually fuse the spine. So what we've effectively done is all you have to do for fusion is to grow into the north side and into the south side, and it's fused. And what we've actually found in our work is that by providing a stable mechanical environment early in the fusion process, the bone actually walks across it with no graft material taken off the iliac crest, no synthetic graft material purchased from a company, decreasing the cost for the healthcare system. And so this is the idea that Matt Pelletier, one of my colleagues, and Will Parr, another one of our team members, have been working on. We also received $2.3 million from Intellectual Ventures to actually get us started, but Gillian Skinner's program is going to actually get us over the line to move it forward into clinical trials, first in man at Prince of Wales.
So if put really simply, if there's trouble in your spine here, by growing the bone grafts here, you're taking the pressure off and helping out doing what the faulty spine there can't do?
Effectively minimizing the motion so that the nerves are no longer impinged, that results in back pain.
Now, everyone you corner tonight, you're going to show a little photo you've got on your iPhone. It might be a bit hard for them to see it from that far out, but when you show that, what is this little happy snap that you're so excited about at the moment?
Well, I mean, as being a researcher today, we actually did a 12-week time point from one of our experiments, and the results were remarkable. They were everything that we had seen in all of our other preclinical work, with the bone actually growing over the device and being completely stable at 12 weeks. And so Matt and I and Will today were, very excited to be in the lab. But it's only through the University of New South Wales has provided us with the facilities to do this. And so I have to acknowledge all the people that we've worked with. You're an overnight success after 23 years. So it's the typical story.
So the photo, it's quite revealing, this photo. So effectively we see on the blown up version of this on a sheep, you're starting to see the sections of bone growing down over the implant, and they'll eventually meet up and fuse.
And the reason why, Adam, this differentiates other types of surgery is that imagine if the left-hand side of the room had to fuse to the right-hand side of the room, you'd have to jump that gap. With ours, you really just have to, you just have to reach out together and just grab hands and you're fused. Once you're fused, the biology changes completely because bone forms well under stability. Bone doesn't want to form when there's too much motion. So we've removed the graft material. We've changed the biomechanics of the spine, which is too much for today's lecture. It will not be on the test, so you don't have to worry. But we've changed the mechanics of it and the paradigm. It's a simple operation, and we have some great clinicians at Prince of Wales that are going to help us move this forward.
It's very exciting, and it might sound familiar too when our good friends from Channel 9 News, I think they've come and filmed you. It may well be on Channel 9 again soon.
They have, and everyone can watch it tomorrow evening.
Great stuff.
But I would just encourage you to come over to our little display where you can see a little bit more of our technology, and we'd like to thank again the MDF Fund. Thank you very much.
Good on you, Bill. Well done, Professor Bill Walsh and everyone from Through Fuse. Bill's right. If you haven't been to this function before, after we break at the end, a table up there that has all the devices on display. It's one of the best parts of the night. The experts will be there, answer any questions you've got. From Maverick Biomaterials, Cameron Crowley. Come on forward, Cameron. So explain to it what it is. You've got an innovative bovine pericardium material. Now, obviously, I know what one of those is, but hypothetically, if I didn't, what's going on?
I guess quite simply, surgical heart valves for 20, 30 years have used bovine pericardium as the core material for leaflet manufacture, and we've been collaborating with a range of global percutaneous heart valve developers, which are developing a slightly different device which erases the need for open heart surgery. So it's a transfemoral.
How do you do that? What is it that's different about the heart valves you're making that changes the surgeries in which they need to be used?
Yeah, we're not making the heart valves, so we're supporting a range of global manufacturers of the percutaneous heart valve. So we've worked with them to optimise the pericardial material so the valve can still function and perform as it needs to, but still be able to be delivered in a via an 18 French catheter femoral artery entry. So our partners are the finished product developers, but we've worked really hard working from the slaughterhouse forward with our own value-added production in Dubbo to optimise the material for those guys to succeed.
And so you were saying to me in the old days it had to be done open heart, and you can now, with the sort of valves that are being developed and the insertion mechanisms, you can do it.
Yeah, it's certainly emerging technology, so there'll still be plenty of open heart surgery undertaken in the next 5-10 years probably, but it used to be high-risk patients only that could take a transfemoral valve. Valve companies are now looking at high intermediate risk patients. So over time, it's likely to be, a significant penetration into what's currently an open heart surgery population.
And we just met Professor Bill Walsh. He's involved in some of this work as well, in a way.
Yeah, most definitely. Some of the automation that we wish to bring to the table to enable us to ramp when the supply chain requires it and probably optimise the materials we originally produce and select. We'll need Bill to characterise, the materials after we've taken up the automation, so we can prove to clients that the material's, we hope, better than the current raw material production method.
I just think this is wonderful, this innovative medical breakthrough that is being used and involving players around the world is happening in Dubbo.
Yeah, we certainly enjoy it a lot as well. We go to work, we drive 5 or 10 kilometres to work from a house we can actually afford, and we liaise the guys, the group here from Maverick in the office. Then we liaise globally from 8 in the morning till 7, 8 at night, o'clock at night, and come back to work and do it again tomorrow morning. It's an absolute hoot.
And it's interesting. It's $337,000, which is smaller than some of the grants the committee gives out. It's at the smaller end, but that, in your case, is still going to make a significant difference. Where does that money go?
Absolutely. For us, it's research and development on automation on the pericardium production. At some point, presuming reasonably good success from our clients, there's going to be a need to ramp and improve material supply, secure our supply chain. So it's really important work for us.
Wonderful stuff. Congratulations, Cameron.
Thank you.
Cameron Crowley and the team at Maverick Biomaterials. Next on the video, we saw See Me 4, the Sound Scouts. Come on up to tell us a little bit more. Ms. Me, how are you going?
Hi, Adam. Good, thank you.
Tell us about Sound Scouts, Karen.
So Sound Scouts is a mobile application that's been developed in collaboration with the National Acoustic Laboratories that tests children for hearing loss or hearing issues in actual fact.
We currently test kids, don't we?
So what we do is we test children at birth with the newborn hearing screening test that Gillian was very much involved in and seeing adopted in New South Wales. But what the research from Australian Hearing showed was that almost double the number of children are found to have hearing loss between the ages of 5 to 8 years. So the hearing loss is being discovered after they start school, and some of those children are at school for over 3 years before this loss is detected.
And all the experts in the field say that, don't they? Even every 3 months that a kid goes without a hearing issue detected has massive impact on where they are at school and their possible trajectory through education.
Absolutely. It impacts them academically, but it also impacts them socially. And it has a huge impact on their self-esteem. So I've even seen studies that correlate hearing loss with depression. There's a real issue that we saw that needed to be addressed.
And the phrase was, any responsible adult can administer this. So you don't need a clinician, you don't need to go to a hospital or an acoustic lab. This can be done at home, at school, anywhere?
So I've had the absolute privilege of working with Dr. Harvey Dillon, who's the director of the National Acoustic Laboratories, and Harvey is a guru in the hearing space, and he has, we've worked together to create what could be akin to an audiologist in a tablet. So there is not enough audiologists and not enough access to hearing services to be able to test the 300,000 children that start school each year. And Sound Scouts will enable all those children to be tested.
Great stuff. Now, the grant you're receiving for $1.1 million, where does that fit into the overall plan for you?
So it will enable us to build out the offering, to create more narratives so children can be retested. It will also enable us to translate the game into a number of languages, and also to develop a marketing plan.
Wonderful stuff. Carolyn, me and the team from See Me 4. Well done, mate.
Thank you.
Oh, you want to say something?
Yeah,
Yes.
and I'd also like to thank the MDF for the support. It's absolutely wonderful.
Great stuff. Congratulations. Sound Scouts is the name of the project. Great. We've got John Keith here from Atomo Diagnostics. Come on forward, John. This is fascinating. This is an all-in-one consumer-friendly self-test screening device for HIV.
That's right.
Where'd the idea come from?
It actually came from our CEO, John Kelly, who unfortunately is unable to be with us this week because he's in Europe. And in Europe is Medica, which is the large medical devices conference. And John has been patiently going there for the last 5 years. And what has been developed together with ID&E, our design partners and shareholders, John and ID&E grew up at ResMed, so there's some history there. In short, we produce what looks a little bit like a USB stick. Needle at one end, draws just enough blood, goes straight onto a test, and it's test agnostic. So we can, as we do, sell hundreds of thousands of tests for HIV in South Africa. Now, if any of you are wondering about this, this is a rapid blood test. So if you were to go down to Red Cross, and they will test you on the spot for anemia to make sure you don't faint on the way out. They'll then take your blood and test it at a lab, a traditional path lab. What if that wasn't a test for anemia? What if that was for HIV, for hepatitis, for malaria, for Ebola? And what if the error rate at present is as high as 15%? So you're getting a false positive, false negative, 1 in 7, 1 in 10. Fortunately, with our platform, what's been designed is something which has a far, far, far higher level of efficiency of reading. And the really exciting part of all of this is that it's a device that's been designed for self-test. So rather than needing to go to a clinic, rather than needing a doctor's script, rather than needing a surgery, you can actually test yourself.
And are we getting to the point with HIV in Australia where breakthroughs like this, could it really contain and start to see the end of HIV in Australia?
Well,
Should I ask the Minister that?
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Please, come on, don't be
Please.
shy, Minister. Come on forward. It's your show.
Sorry.
You can hop in any
Look,
time.
This is
don't you?
another of my great passions, and that's why I'm so excited about this product, because we put out an HIV strategy 2012-15, and in fact today I've just signed up on the next version of it, and the goal of it was to have the virtual elimination of transmission of HIV by the year 2020, and it's done by early testing and then early treatment. Previously, many people refused to be tested, and treatment didn't start until usually it's about 6 months after they're infected, when the viral load had got to a certain point. We've now managed to put pop-up places for testing. We've got early treatment on, but I think this is going to transform how we can do that. It is a very, very exciting project.
Wonderful stuff. Well said, Minister. Come on in, John. When you hear that sort of endorsement, you're onto the right thing.
you're going to ask me a question about what the difference the Minister's Grant and the Funds Grant's going to
I'm
be.
going to finish with that. I want to
Okay,
ask one
right,
other
yeah,
quick question.
sorry.
You did also mention in South Africa, does this technology have the potential to roll out also places where you might not have the health infrastructure of regular testing regimes?
Yes, no, that's absolutely right, and the growth, and Minister, you've touched on it, which is self-testing. The growth of self-testing is going to be the really exciting part. Now, the problem with self-testing is, accuracy of the readout, and that's why I want you to ask me the third question, because the accuracy of readout is going to be really imperative, and also the collection of that information.
So let me ask you.
No, well, sorry.
In a moment.
At the moment, the estimate is...
I've never been less in control of an interview in my life. I'm loving it.
So, our chief scientist at Atomo Diagnostics, who's here, Melissa Webster, she's referenced... Where's she somewhere? She's referenced 14% of HIV. Unfortunately, those suffering HIV in the state are undiagnosed, and it goes exactly to the minister's point. Wow. So really, what we want to focus on, and we are working closely with various HIV and clinical bodies, and we're in fact testing at St Vincent's at the moment, is how do we just get this out so it's easy to use? Now the question.
Just off the top of my head. So yes, the grant. How much is the grant? What's it for? Where does this take you now?
Okay, so the fund and the minister very generously supported us for $1.8 million, and what that means is we will take our device, and as you would have seen, it has a chemical readout, and it has a small amount of buffer that you have to spread the solution. Our Generation 2 device, so we sell Generation 1 already in South Africa and in other parts of Africa. Our Generation 2 device is really for the consumer market. And what does that mean? It means that we'll go from having just a chemical window that you're looking at to having a digital window. And then the next step is to actually, and if we're the innovation country, is to actually have an app so that the device will talk to an app. So rather than you thinking, it's a bit like, any sort of test, what do I do now? In fact, that advice will already be there. So with the minister and the fund's generosity, we're able to take that really big step forward. And we have been extremely well supported by friends and family. We've been extremely well supported by a couple of high net worth individuals who can see what our product is about. They've seen us get to revenue, but to actually say to them, we're now digitizing our device, they sort of say, yeah, I kind of get it, but I can't see the revenue. The foresight of the minister, the foresight of the fund is such that we can actually see a real need, real product, real time, and accelerate people's self-testing rather than thinking, you know what, I'll go tomorrow and have a check, or maybe next week. And rather than waiting until they're unwell, actually on the shelf, take it out, and in privacy of your own home or in some other setting, you can actually see and test yourself. And with something which actually comes out with a reading and tells you on your phone what to do next, and it may well be it said, we've actually just made an appointment. Or, no, in 6 months' time, take another test. And suddenly it flashes up on your phone in 6 months saying, right, time for another test, and we'll put one in the mail to you, or you'll get one through one of your offices.
Very exciting
so
stuff.
Working with New South Wales Health is not simply about this fund, but it's also about their support and our trying to commercialise, and our time frame is within the next 12 months to have this completed.
Give John a round of applause. Never from Atomo, mate. Great stuff. Very exciting.
Thank you very much.
Our final recipient, Stephanie Watson, and the team from Clear Eye. Give Stephanie a round of applause. How are you, Stephanie? This was the video that no one's going to forget seeing. I love nothing more than watching an eye getting cut open.
It's great. I love doing it.
I've had it done to myself a few times. Tell us about the breakthrough here. Walk us through the biological patch.
Okay, because you like numbers, I'm going to tell you 3 things.
Okay.
One of them is that eye wounds leak. 2 of them, patients are hopeless at doing their own drops. And the third thing is the eye is like a camera. And to see clearly, the lens has to be a perfect shape and perfectly clear. Now, when it goes wrong, patients devastatingly lose sight. And Clear Eye is a revolution, because what it will do, it will seal wounds, it will deliver therapeutics, and it will promote scarless healing.
That was the interesting thing. So let's go through those one at a time.
Yes.
How does it seal the wound?
Yeah, so traditionally with eye surgery, wounds are either left unsealed and they can then still open, or they're sealed with sutures. And sutures is a really old and crude technology. It's also very surgeon dependent, and it takes years and years to learn and is very time consuming. So Clear Eye is a thin film bioadhesive. It's the ultimate Band-Aid. We put it on the eye and it closes the wound.
It also delivers therapeutics?
Yes, yeah. One of the things that happens after surgery is you give patients, typically they're elderly, because the most common operation in the world is cataract surgery, and it's done on an elderly population, and you give them all these drops and they've got to put them in, and they come back confused and haven't put them in, lost the bottles. And so what Clear Eye can do is deliver the post-operative therapy.
And the other thing with that also is even people who remember to do the drops, the chance with an eye wound of infection if you've left the drops out, or if your hands are dirty or something comes in contact with something on the process of putting the drops in. So these self-administered ones, those post-infection chances would be reduced significantly, wouldn't they?
Yes, one of the most interesting videos I saw at a conference once was a video of how patients put eye drops in their eye. And it was really quite amazing, the variation. Some people actually inserted the bottle directly into the eye socket. So Clear Eye will prevent that.
Great stuff. And there was a third. What was the third part of it that we had?
The scarless healing.
Oh.
Yeah, so sutures actually cause scarring. So after a trauma, and this is particularly a problem in the developing world. So I've been in Vietnam this year and I've seen eyes just lost through scarring following trauma. And that's because when you get a wound, you suture it and it scars up. So Clear Eye can also deliver therapeutics that can promote scarless healing.
Wonderful stuff. And significantly cheaper, I presume, than the surgery option as well.
Look, it's cheaper and faster. So we can produce it cheaply, and time and money is saved in the operating theatres because it doesn't take us long.
Great stuff. $1.3 million. Where does that take Clear Eye?
So, and again, we're very grateful to the Minister, and where it will take Clear Eye is into the clinics. So we'll have patients in the New South Wales health system benefiting from Clear Eye. We've spoken to the Sydney Eye Hospital and engaged other key partners, and we're looking forward to people actually benefiting from our product.
This is great. I should say the last time I was actually with Stephanie, so the two great Australian eye experts who've ever worked on my wonky eye were Professor Fred Hollows, who did the operations originally, and then a few years ago when my eye started drying out at night, I'd wake up often really scratching, a couple of times got horribly painful infections. I went to see Professor Stephanie Watson, who gave me a little regime of putting gunk into my eye every night that I do from a distance, but it goes in. And so the last time I saw you, you were saving me from eye infections. So thank you very much. She is an absolute gun in eye health in Australia, and this is so exciting, Clear Eye. Congratulations, Stephanie. Big round of applause. Well done. There you go. That's what they're all about. Unbelievable. So we wrap up the formalities now. There'll be some food and drinks served, but get down the back there, have a look at some of the displays, talk to the experts. The stuff they're doing is amazing. Another massive round of applause, please, for the Minister and Mary's committee. None of this would be possible without their tireless work. And that brings to the end our formalities for this year. Congratulations to the Medical Devices Fund and all of our recipients. Let's all talk about how amazing you are now.